there's a little bit of a time delay, and it shouldn't be a problem for you, but if people ask us questions or anything like that, it'll be a little bit of a time lag. But
Okay.
they'll figure it out pretty easily.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
yeah, no sweat. Cool. It looks like we're up and going. My name's Corey Spores, and I'm the co-owner of MST Adventures. And today we're talking with Jodelle Fitzwater. And she is a pretty awesome person. She is out of Arkansas. Is that correct?
Actually, Southwest Missouri, but very close
Southwest
to
Missouri.
Arkansas. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you're a certified nutrition therapy practitioner, food psychology coach, right? As well as a personal trainer through ACSM. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Cool. All right. So, um, when it comes to what it is we do, we have two different respective areas. I'm in the Southwest. When I moved here from the Great Lakes region, I was like really jacked up on paddling, and it didn't matter what it was. Like I was getting out, and I averaged like every 3 days on the water. And now that I'm here, it's, I get out a little bit less, but we're embracing what we have here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've got like this really awesome river, the Rio Grande, and it runs from Colorado. And it runs all the way to the Gulf. It's really pretty awesome. And the city here has this really nice green space all along the river. It's not built up like other places that I've been, like the lakefront in Cleveland on Lake Erie, for instance, like they build right to the river. And here there's this nice buffer. And so you can have a really nice natural experience doing whatever, whether it's biking or running or paddling. It's really nice. So where are you at in Southwest Missouri?
So if you've heard of a little country bumpkin town called Branson, Missouri, where all the country music stars are.
Yeah.
I'm just outside of that in Branson West, actually. And it's on a lake that's 900 square miles of shoreline called Table Rock Lake. Very beautiful lake. Not Lake of the Ozarks. So if you've heard of Lake of the Ozarks, don't go there. Sorry to anyone that lives there, but it's very dirty. Table Rock is very beautiful, and it has my heart. Like I don't love living in Missouri, but I love Table Rock Lake. So it's just a really great lake with all these little fingers, and I've gone as far as actually paddling 40 miles on it. So in one day. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool. And so that's probably like a dam filled lake, like a TVA dam.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. So you've got a lot of little coves you can get in and around and really stretch that mileage. That's nice.
Yeah, you never run out of places to explore. So it's a beautiful lake to come explore on. So if you do, make sure you hit me up because I want to take you to all my favorite spots. So
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. I've got a brother up in Springfield, and and with my family still being in Ohio, I kind of find my way over there a lot. I've been trying to find my way to Bentonville as much as possible, and so like it would be right on the trail.
Yeah, I actually have family in Bentonville as well, and there's some really great, fun little lakes there too. So
yeah, it's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful area. Jodelle, I learned about you and what you're doing through another podcast called SUP FM, and it was an older podcast, but I think a lot of the information is still really relevant. I think what you're doing is really unique, and we offer a SUP Fitness, and it's a little different than what you're doing. And I like what you're doing. So I had some questions about that and how, your participants have been able to participate in it and really enjoy it, kind of like how they've liked it. What we do with ours, we do a lot of, it's like it'll take you from zero paddling experience. So we'll start with a little bit of paddling instruction on dry land, and we'll go over, some stretching and some basic movements. And then we do a lot of like paddle cadence, and we work a lot of, we work on our paddle skills going down the river, and that all kind of crescendos towards the end of our 6-week program, where each time you're out with us, we increase, whether it be like a Tabata based style workout or like the timing of our paddle cadence and the length of it to build up our paddle endurance. And last year we crescendoed our season at 2 points to 2 races that were local here in New Mexico, just as a way to bring up the participation in those. They were put on by one was put on by the state parks here, and the other was kind of a grassroots race that we did. The stuff that I'm seeing you do on the board is really pretty cool. You know, you're adding a lot of other components to it. Will you kind of fill me in on some of that you're doing?
Yeah, so when I first got into paddling, it was in 2008, and I stumbled upon it in Hawaii, and I fell in love with it. And as soon as I got home from that trip, I ordered a board, and I went out on the lake, and people would come over to me and say, did you flip your boat over? Are you okay? They thought I was standing on top of like a John boat that I'd flipped over. And I said, no, I want to do this. No, I'm fine. So I can't tell you how many people said that to me, but I went then, the only certification I could find at that time, because I was a trainer and I wanted to teach it. Like, I knew the value of it and how many things you could do with the board. And so I found Paddle Fit down in Clearwater, Florida. And Brody Welty was my trainer. And I went to the very first Paddle Fit certification and fell in love with that, and fell in love with what Brody was teaching, which is like this really well thought out program for teaching SUP, but then also teaching people how they can use their board as a gym, you know, and use the water as their place of choice. So I just started going to the water as much as I could and trying new things and playing with it. And then I approached Brody about certifying other people. So now I'm a Paddle Fit trainer coach. So actually my next certification, if anybody's interested, is in where I live, is May 30th, which is the end of this month. It's SUP certification through Paddle Fit Core. And but it's a great way to, like you said, you can extend it out. Like, your 6-week program sounds amazing. What I do here in the Midwest is I kind of have roughly about 3 to 4 lessons to just get to people a general level of really feeling comfortable on the water. And then I start going into fitness. But the majority of my lessons are, I give them a little taste of everything. Like, if they're a first time out person, I'm going to take them through the basics of paddling, and I'm going to give them a little snippet of a total body workout. And then I'm going to give them a little snippet of a stretch at the end. And it's kind of cool because these little nuggets are like kind of infiltrate their system. Like, I have to do more of this. And 90% of the time they leave and they go buy their own board. And so I think that's really cool. I wrote an article for Stand-Up Journal one time called Standup Paddleitis, where it's like inflammation of the psyche. Cause you're like, I have to paddle. I have to get on a board, and I have to do this. So
well, that's great. That's great. It's, I want to read that article. That it sounds good. I like giving people the hook, right?
Right.
I've been paddling. I mean, I've been a lifelong paddler, and it's changed. My discipline has changed quite a bit over time as I gain experience, as I just move through life. And it's cool to add different things to this, to the components that that you like. I was doing a lot of CrossFit coaching, and like now we have kids, and it's like you have to give up a little bit of time here and there, and we still work out, but it's like trying to give that time to others, or put into the business, or put into the kids and the family. It changes. And then I found wrapping that into the paddling on the paddle boards was really pretty awesome, and because I like to share my experiences with people. I realize I'll never get rich doing this, but it's super fun.
It's so true.
And I really like that idea of like, hey, here's the hook, and now people are going out and just really jumping into it. And that's really pretty awesome.
I love what you said about your, spending more time with your family and stuff like that, because paddling is a great way to have family time, and I actually recently dropped social media completely, other than my YouTube channel. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram, because it was like one more thing hanging around in the back of my mind that I had to focus on. And I wanted that energy elsewhere. I wanted it out in nature with my family, with my daughter, with my husband. And I wanted to just have that time that was taken away from me with putting on social media so much. I wanted that time back. And so it's kind of a weird thing. You don't hear people leaving social media, but for me, it was a no-brainer, because I'm like, I get more time. I get more time to paddle.
I totally agree with that. It's a double-edged sword for us. We do a lot of stuff on social media for the business, but I also find myself noodling around, like answering questions in Facebook groups, and like, it's a definite time suck. And I think a lot of people are trying to adjust around and find what works best for them. And so that's great. Yeah, we just had we broke our quarantine 2 weeks ago. My wife and I did. We took my kids down the river. So I put my two little ones in the canoe in front of me. She was on a paddleboard. My niece was on the paddleboard. And then we'd swap kids, like as we went down the river to give them a little bit of a taste. And, and then you got to stop and throw rocks for a while and make it fun for them. And, have some great snacks. And they're 3 and 2. And, I had my first trip on the river when I was 3 in a canoe, and then it just has slowly ramped up and evolved from there. And it's really pretty unique. What are when you're giving people the taste, like what are you doing? Are you having them like do plank holds? Are you just getting them like doing some basic yoga stretching on the boards? Like what do you think your key to success, like really getting people super excited about this is?
Yeah, great question. Actually, I think it was answered for me by BIC when they first brought me on BIC paddleboards. I was sponsored by them for many years, and they said I was the girl that made it available to everybody. I wasn't just the yoga girl. I wasn't just the fitness girl. I was definitely not a racer. Like they put me in one race and that was a big mistake.
Sure.
But because I couldn't round the corner and knock people off their board. I'm not competitive. So I just stopped. And they're like, you can't stop in a race. And I'm like, well, I don't want to hit anybody. So
Sure.
I don't have that competitive drive within me. But what I pride myself on in any of my businesses, whether it's nutrition or fitness or stand-up paddling, is that I want to show people how there's something in it for everyone. And when I first started teaching, it was like, you can be 7 or 70 and this is going to be doable for you. And that's what's cool about stand-up paddling, is that I kind of I believe in bio-individuality. So every one of my lessons is I kind of read my audience and I can see, is this woman, does she seem to struggle with just the basic premise of standing up? Is going from a kneeling position to standing a very difficult challenge for her? So I know once I get to that fitness portion, I'm just going to say, hey, let's do a little bitty squat here. I want you to just try about 5 of those. Let's do a few push-ups on the board with your knees down. Like, let's just try about 5 of those. And then I can see based on her reaction, is she enjoying this? And so I'll kind of gear it towards, let's do some stretches. I'll just kind of change it to where she's like, oh, this is so nice. And wow, I could come out here and even just read a book. And I can see the person I'm working with is that individual that maybe might be using it more for leisure. So then I can see what their importance is. Like, are they going to use it for fitness, or are they really just looking for a stress relief, a way to get away from life? And so each lesson is different, but like I said, the basic premise is I want them to have a little taste of everything they can do on the board. I never unless somebody wants just paddling, I never take them out and just say, we're just going to paddle, because you can really give somebody the basics of standing up and paddling in, 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
But you can work on their technique, and then you can give them a little taste of fitness, and then you can give them how they can relax on the board. And that makes it so much of a juicier experience. So.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Do you use like an anchoring system, or do you just take people out, like, cause you're on a lake, or do you just kind of like float with kind of the breeze that's happening? Or what's your method on that? We've done our yoga in a closed system, which is basically, I would call it a pond. They call them lakes down here, but it's a pond to me, where we'll anchor our boards. We've done it in a couple ways, and that works really well. We've also tried to do it as we float across, which tends to be like a super advanced day of yoga, because like now you're combating the movement of the board way more than if you had an anchoring system.
The cool thing about Table Rock is that we do have, like I said, those little fingers that stay relatively protected from the wind. So I did both. At one point in time, I had an anchoring system, and what a nightmare. Like, it was like, get them all on the board, get them out into the water, try not to get them tangled, get them off the boards, off the water. Like, it was just, I was like, this isn't me. I'm very simple and very simple-minded. I like to keep my life simple. It was hard for the patrons too. The people that would come out were like, do I do with this? Or what do I do with it now? And now it's caught on a tree. And so it's like,
Sure.
forget it. Like, I just started saying, it's all part of the workout. If you move while we're doing a certain thing, paddle back into the little group that we have, so I made it part of the workout. And then I also made sure that I was only doing those types of floating classes in an area that I knew would be protected from the wind and stay relatively calm. But,
Sure.
for the most part, I had a better experience without all the anchors with people, because you just make it lighthearted. It doesn't have to be perfect. If they float into one another, they just giggle. And I say, give a paddle high five. And they like hit their paddles together and high five, So it was just, it's all in what you make of it. And what people know about me is I'm very like positive Pollyanna. Like
Yeah.
I try to find the positivity in everything. So anything that stresses me or is a negative, I was just like, I'm done with anchors. So.
Awesome. No, I like that. That's a good methodology to use. I know when we first started, we were running a linear anchor system, and that was a real pain. Because the boards would move around. Then we switched to a yoga dock, which was a lot better because we just anchored that down, and then everybody married into it. It was, it was like the petals of a daisy were the paddle boards, and the center of the daisy is where our yoga instructor was. When that worked out really pretty well, and it's challenging though nonetheless, because there's all this setup time and all this takedown time. And I think it's challenging. I'd like to find a way to incorporate, a little bit more, plank holds. And I call them Jane Fonda's, but it's like a side plank, works your obliques, where you sag your hip down to the board and then you end up, raising it up, along with some other stuff that I know I do, when I'm working out in the garage, and I find great benefit of it. And that's like, well, let's put it on the water and see how that goes, and trying to figure out where and how. It's nice to learn, not recreate the wheel, but learn what some of the struggles are that others have had. And I like that idea of like, let's just bring it all back in, and it's all part of the fun and games. So.
And that's exactly it. Is like paddling is fun. I mean, that's what Paddle Fit is all about too. Like it's teaching people that you do have permission to have fun. You don't have to just work yourself to the bones, and you don't just have to be competitive. You don't just have to get your workout in for the day. Like, go out into the water and just find a quiet cove and lay on your back and watch the clouds go by, or go out into the water and fall in, like, just like let yourself jump in. Like, you get kids out on the board, like my 5-year-old, and she just wants to use it as a floating dock where she jumps in 50 times, and I'm like, I want to do that too. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes as adults, we don't give ourselves permission to just have fun and not make it such an intense calorie tracking workout. But it definitely can be. It can be fun just to get a group of people on the water, and you're just saying, okay, let's do 50 sit-ups. And then they start laughing because they lost their paddle and it's floating off, and it's no big deal because it's all part of the experience. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think there's a lot, I've been reading, there's a lot, like when it comes to being outside in a natural environment, and just how it helps just
absolutely
everybody's mental state. I've been following, well, I just finished a book called The Joy of Movement that Kelly McGonigal wrote. And it's all, I'm forever looking for reasons why I always feel better after I'm outside. And this book seems to have all the research in it. And she talks a lot about green exercise and part of this, and just how being outside in a natural environment, it allows kind of like your mind to quiet down, and you're focusing on like the task at hand. And when I teach my whitewater classes, a lot of times I bring that up, because it's like, if you focus task at hand, you're going to excel. But if you let your mind wander, that's when things happen and you flip over, and now you're counting fish for a little bit. And I like that, we can do this exercise outside, hear all the surrounding bits and nature, and I think like it leads to such a positive experience at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I don't know if
there's not a gym where you can go and get fresh air and sunshine and vitamin D and water therapy, like all at the same time, because there's something really therapeutic about water. Like, and I think that was what drew me to paddling. Was I was a wakeboarder, I was a wake surfer, and that was fun, but I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I don't need to go fast.
Sure.
So surfing was fun too. I did a little bit of longboard surfing before I found stand-up paddling, but I was like, it's all right. Like, I just want to be in the water. I just want to be around the water. I just want to be part of the atmosphere of the water. I just think it's very therapeutic. And stand-up paddling got you like in this state where you could like look around and stop and slow down and go, wow, look at the scenery, smell the
Yeah.
water, get down and touch the water. And water, like you were saying, with that book you were reading, I don't know if she talked about grounding, but if the water
Yeah.
is sitting in dirt, I mean, it's got a bottom dirt pit, it's grounded. So when you touch that water, your body's grounded too from negative energy in the atmosphere, like EMF and radiation. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a really great, I can tell right away you would like it.
I'm going to look it up for sure.
It has a lot of these principles in it. And I had just finished another one called Blue Mind, which is was put out a few years ago. And it all stemmed, I did a paddle trip with a gentleman, and he was telling me why, he's like, why everybody in New Mexico is angry is there's all this sand and there's not enough water and they're like unbalanced. And I'm thinking about what he's saying as we're going down the river. And I'm like, man, there's something to this. There's got to be some research out there. And that's kind of what started this rabbit hole of like, what can we find and how can we validate this? Because I think it's a very solid, hypothesis here.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
It was really good. When it comes to some of the things that you've done fitness wise, are there anything that you would recommend against doing fitness wise on the boards? We've rented our boards to sports and wellness facilities here locally, and I've watched some of their classes, and I think to myself, like, that's probably not the best thing, but it's not my class. And so when we would have our yoga instructor come out, she was a rock star, and she could just read everybody so well that I never really worried about that. But now, as we're branching off, she's left and gone to grad school, and we're doing more of the fitness-based stuff. I just wonder, are there things that you think we should totally shy away from?
I used to go with Vic to Surf Expo every year, and I learned so many of the new devices that would come out for stand-up paddle fitness and things like that. And I would always go to the demo day and try everything. And when it comes to paddling and fitness, for me, less is more. Like the more devices and contraptions. Like I had some companies that sent me these resistance tubes and stuff like that to add to my paddle. And it was cool. I mean, it was like fun to play around with some new stuff. But at the end of the day, I can use nothing but body weight and get an amazing workout on the paddleboard and not have to have all these devices to come with me and get in the way or trip over them or drop them in the water. It was just like, again, simplify and keep it simple so that it can be enjoyable, because the stress of sometimes too much equipment can actually like derail that feeling that you're trying to get by going out. So that's the only thing I would say, is that for people to be cautious of all of the different contraptions that are out there to get a good workout on your board. You really don't need it. You can get a super workout. And Vic a few years back had me record a ton of fitness videos on the paddleboard that you can still find on Standup Paddling TV on YouTube. So people can check those out and get some ideas of all the different things you can do without hardly any equipment.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I'm really excited about, I got your ebook on SUP nutrition. I really like it. It's long enough and it's short enough, and it conveys the message really, really well, I think. I tried your recovery tonic the other day after some mountain biking, because that was kind of the longest duration of exercise I could squeeze out in our stay-at-home order. We're allowed to leave for exercise, which is cool. So I'm really close to some trails, so I kind of jam that out real fast. I like it quite a bit. It's way better than other stuff I've done.
Nice.
And I like the information in it, and I'm excited to use it. I want to say they're your power balls. Is that another?
Yeah.
Your energy balls.
Yeah.
Is another really awesome thing. It's very similar to some paleo bars that I've made in the past. And so how did you come to like putting together this nutritional guideline for like the SUP community? What did you see maybe driving that interest?
Yeah, so like I said, I wasn't a race athlete with stand-up paddling. I was a fitness girl, but also what I did for Vic was charity paddles, long distance endurance paddles, where I would pick a charity and raise money for that specific thing, whether it was an individual or an organization. And so I would like pick a distance I could go And I needed something to fuel me. And I, as a nutritionist, I had all these little things in my back pocket of like what I would do. But I'm like,
Sure.
it has to be something I can carry on me. It has to be something that encompasses all the macronutrients so that I can get the protein, get the fat, and get the carbohydrates to keep me balanced throughout the day. And like I mentioned, that 40-mile paddle that I had done, that was for a friend of mine who had breast cancer, and she didn't have the money to pay for her treatments. So I wanted to raise money and go as far as I could for her. I didn't know how far I would go, but I was able to do the 40 miles. But I needed that fuel. And so I had to develop a few different recipes that would encompass all the macronutrients. And it really made it easy, especially those energy balls, because it doesn't take time to just grab one and pop it in your mouth and keep paddling. So for race athletes or just people in general that are trying to improve their performance and they want to stay on the water, they don't want to take a lot of breaks, it was just really easy to slip a little baggie in my fanny pack that had, or a little backpack that had them in there, and I could just quickly grab a couple and keep going. So
awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. I like that. I'd say I'm pretty new to long distance paddleboard paddling. We have a nice stretch of river here. It's between Santa Fe and Albuquerque, and they call it White Rock Canyon. It can be between 21 and 22 miles, depending on what side of the lake you choose to take out of. And that's kind of the longest stretch that I've done. And I'm hoping to put together a group of collective individuals to maybe do this in a way that's fun, kind of a little competitive, but also just a great way to get the paddleboarders out down this stretch.
yeah.
And I think having taken more into consideration before I started might have done better. You know, I'm that guy who just packs like 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a liter of water and is like, we got this figured out, let's go. And you know, I can tell you at like mile 18, I was pretty smoked.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great day though, and it was a great learning experience because I knew what to expect from many other facets of my fitness and training. I'm a tailwind person, like for hydration mixes, because they don't give me GI upset like a Gatorade does, you know. And one of the first things you say in your ebook is like, know yourself. And that's the big thing for me, is like, well, I know from mountain bike racing, like this stuff works really well. And so yeah, we had a question come across, and what I'd like to ask for them is that they were wondering, like, what can we do at home, like for water-based training now, but at home? I see some people are using like longboards and like an old paddle, you know, to like propel themselves along bike paths in a way to work that same muscle group, or using a paddle and a TheraBand and a door to try to work some muscle groups. Do you have any thoughts on, like, you know, land-based exercises that we could do now?
Okay, so I have a couple different options, because I can go as old school as you want, like with just having like your own paddleboard and then some really cushy porch chair cushions, like the 1970s that had like the plastic covering that are really fluffy. Yep. And if you put like 3 of those under a paddleboard on land, you can get that kind of sensation of imbalance on the water. And so then you can really work on your rotation, you can work on your hip hinge and stuff like that. And then you could also, with that same setup, you could attach a resistance band, like you said, to a door or something like that and pull. So that's like level 1, like if you're like low budget, train at home kind of thing. There's also a product on the market that I love called it just left me. I'm sure they've heard of it. And I have it in my workout room, but it just escaped me what it is. Well, number 1, there's a product called the Juvo board that simulates a paddleboard. Yep. And it actually can elevate to like this inclined surface too, but you can use it as a paddleboard. But the indoor trainer, it's like, I'm trying to remember what the company's name is, and I have it sitting in my workout room, but it's an erg wheel. And it's an indoor trainer that you can attach a paddle attachment to, and you can simulate paddling, and you can change the resistance. You can keep track of your strokes per minute. You can keep a Vasa trainer. It just
Vasa supper.
Because I use it weekly, and I'm like, how can I not remember this? Vasa, VASA trainer. Yep. And you can use it weekly or daily to enhance your training when you can't get out, the weather's crappy in the winter time, or maybe you're somewhere where you don't have access to a lot of water, but you want to stay fresh for the water. So anyway,
Sure.
that's a great
Okay.
product. So that's something that's a little more high-end budget. You wouldn't just be using cushions and resistance bands, but it really does the job. Like I had seen when I first started using the Vasa trainer that my stroke improved. Like within a couple weeks, I was able to improve. So
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. I've used a lot of Concept too, rowing ergs,
rowers. Uh-huh.
as well as a couple of the ski ergs,
Mhm.
but I've not tried a paddle specific. And this, it looks like maybe that just is for a single bladed paddle versus a double bladed paddle. Is that
Yeah, you can get different attachments. They do
okay?
have one that kind of simulates like some sort of a kayaking paddle. But
Sure.
yeah, the one that I have is also just a single attachment paddle, just like you would if you were stand-up paddling. So
Awesome.
it was invented for swim athletes, like a swim erg for them to practice their swim strokes. But the guy Rob Slaymaker that made it, he made the SUP option, which I thought was fantastic because there wasn't anything hardly like it on the market. So
Yeah, no, that's really pretty cool. And I haven't I haven't seen those before. And as you were trying to recollect that, I remembered, I thought I saw it on your website somewhere, so I was trying to pull
yeah,
them up.
and they can try the code Jodelle. I don't know if it's still active, but it might get them 5% off if they try the code Jodelle with that. So
Oh,
I haven't.
cool.
It's been a couple of months since I've talked to Rob, so I don't know if it's still active or not. But
Yeah, no, that's
he's a
great.
great guy. He's a great inventor that invented this, and he's very much into water sports. So
Cool. That's really awesome. I didn't know you could get a little deal on that. That's awesome. I'm excited to see. Cool. What else do you have like for your local community? Are you guys getting out on the water right now, or is it too early in the season for you? Or do you have a stay-at-home order in Missouri?
we just got let up, like after
Okay.
about I think it was 4 weeks, or maybe longer, maybe 6 weeks. I don't know, because we had the same thing as you to where we could go out for physical activity. So I made good use of my paddleboard during this time.
Yeah.
Our spring gets pretty warm pretty quickly, and I'm not a fair weather girl anyway. I'll go out when it's 35 degrees too because I love the water. But yeah, so I do something on our lake with with community paddles where they're just free paddles. I don't charge anybody to come out. But it's SUP in a cup. We have a floating cafe about an hour paddle away. So we'll paddle to the cafe, we'll have breakfast and coffee together as the community, and then we'll paddle back. So it's like a 3 hour tour.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
it's fun because it's a destination paddle and it gets people to talk and become like-minded and get to know the other paddlers in the community. So, and it's different people every time. We do picnic paddles to where I'll encourage people to bring their own picnic out, and we go out and picnic on the water. We've done SUP a SUP and your pup, like bring your dogs, and everybody has like their little dog on their board. And so
Yeah.
it's fun. Like there's different things that I've done over the years, and it's been a great way to build the paddle community to where we have a really good, like a Facebook group of all these people that can intermingle with each other and meet up even when I can't go, so they'll make little groups that
Yeah.
go out even when they don't have like a guide or something. So
Sure. That sounds really fun. That sounds
yeah.
really fun. We've been brainstorming ways to engage the community once we're able to get out and have a little bit larger group gatherings. We do some stuff with our local meetup group, and I keep telling Michael, I'm like, dude, I want to have like a huge beach party, but you have to paddle to the beach.
Oh yeah.
So like
Awesome.
it's whatever you want to put on your board and bring down. And I just think it would be really fun to get people out, and then, we can still have plenty of space between folks if needed. And I like that. That's SUP in a Cup. That sounds like a really fun program. One of
Yeah,
our
and
community
sometimes,
events. Go ahead.
yeah, no, sometimes the cafe, if they're not open, I'll bring a big carafe of coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker, so I bring a big carafe of coffee, and I tell people BYOM, bring your own mug, and we
Yep.
go out and we do sup and a cup and a stretch. So we have a cup of coffee or we'll stretch before and then sit and shoot the breeze and have coffee while we're sitting on our boards on the water. So I'll take them through a whole like stretch, get all your tension out from the week, like on a Saturday morning. And then we sit and have coffee and vent all our frustrations and leave it all on the water. And then you get to go back, and your Saturday is just amazing after that. Like somebody could run you over with a truck and you wouldn't care, because you just like feel so good after getting off the water. So
that's great. I really like that. That's something that I would love to incorporate out here. It's sounds like a really wonderful time, and I think we really need that, like the way just to let it all out and have a good time.
Yeah.
One of our early season events is it's our icebreaker event. We usually do it in March. And we weren't able to do it because of the quarantine this year. And it's just like a way to say, hey, like the water's running, it's spring, and come on out. And it's usually a really fun time. It's never really been a bad time, I should say. We warm up fast. We just hit like the 90s, and then like once it's there, you know.
Yeah.
And the mornings are still very, very peaceful and very cool yet. And so it's a great time to get out in the morning. And, you know, we range about to, 58 to 62 degrees for the river temperature. But in the mornings, it can be about 75. And then as it gets closer to noon, it's getting a little closer to 90 right now. And it's a pleasant experience because the water's cool enough that like it provides wonderful relief, but you're not gonna get hypothermia or anything like that, which is nice.
Well, I definitely have that on my list based on what you're saying, because I really want to come check out that area. It just sounds beautiful, and I'm all about trying new places. So it's like one of my favorite places I've ever been was the Venice canals in Italy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So if you ever get a chance to go out there and paddle on the canals, there's only one girl that can take you out. That she has her little SUP industry business right there on the canals, and
cool.
Just go find her and she'll take you on the canals. And it's so interesting, like being in this city that's ancient, like from the 1500s, and you're paddling on these canals. So
that would be cool.
Traveling and paddling is kind of a really cool thing. So I'd love to come out and check out your river.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you. We'd really love to have you. It's a wonderful time. We have this wonderful balloon fiesta in the fall. It's usually the first like 9 days of October, and it's just it's great. Balloon fiesta is a wonderful time to get out on the water, to experience like everything that New Mexico has to offer that people don't necessarily think of.
Yeah.
And I don't really, you have to be here to really appreciate it, the magical nature of it. But at the same time, I can tell you, and until you totally are like, like I'm there, but here's what it's like. Are you able to see?
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Yes, that is so incredible.
There's nothing photoshopped about this. We see like 800 to 1,000 balloons rise up. We're on super early as they do what's called dawn patrol. So it's dark out. The balloons are glowing as they're inflating.
Is that a floating boot?
That is a boot. Yeah, that's part of the special shapes. There's boots. There's honeybees. There's a cow. It's amazing. It really is. So if you're thinking like, I want to come to New Mexico, like that's the thing to come check out.
That is what I'm going to do. My 5-year-old would love that too. She has her own little board, and so we could even like come out and paddle together and watch the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I know, everybody's got a lot of things going on. So I just want to tell you, thank you very much for your time today. And we're going to have this hosted on our YouTube channel. And so I'm going to put a couple of links to your website and the SUP nutritional document that's on there. So if other people want to get onto that ebook and check that out, they can do that. It's been a pleasure. And I just want to emphasize that it's been great to have you come and chit chat a little bit with us. And I appreciate it quite a bit.
Oh, thank you, Corey. I really enjoyed it. And it's an honor to be able to meet a fellow paddler with so much passion. So
cool. Thank you.